which often explores themes of divine presence, spiritual awakening, and the evolution of consciousness. I would request Dr. Mudit Jain to please do the honors. Dr. Jain. Dr. Jain is a prominent endocrinologist in the South Florida community and is also a dedicated devotee of Sri Aurobindo's philosophy. Dr. Jain.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raina, Rakesh, and the whole Kashmiri group here for giving me the privilege of talking about Sri Aurobindo and his sonnets, which Dr. Raina has transcreated in Hindi. I would like to start with invocation of the divine by reading Sri Aurobindo's Gayatri. This is the Gayatri mantra given by Sri Aurobindo. Om Tat Savitur Varam Rupam Jyoti Parasya Dhimahi Yanna Satyen Deepyet. It means, let us meditate on the most auspicious form of Savitri, on the light of the Supreme, which shall illumine us with the truth. So while the traditional Gayatri mantra attributed to Rishi Vishwamitra seeks illumination of the intellect by the divine light of Savitri, Sri Aurobindo's version aspires to have a more comprehensive transformation. It invokes the supramental light of the Supreme to illumine the entire being, not just the mind, but also the heart, will and body, facilitating a complete spiritual evolution. Dr. Raina wants me to read an extract from Savitri, which throws light on this. It goes as follows. The unseen grew visible to student eyes. Explained was the immense inconscient scheme. Audacious lines were traced upon the void. The infinite was reduced to square and cube, arranging symbol and significance. They framed the Kabbalah of cosmic law, the balancing line discovered of life's technique, and structured her magic and her mystery. So, these concepts of light, of truth, of oneness, of knowledge are parallels in Kashmiri Shaivism and Sri Aurobindo's darshan from a little that I'm learning with being associated with Dr. Raina. Now, regarding Sri Aurobindo, 10 minutes is not enough, but I'll try. As many of you may know, Sri Aurobindo is considered as the greatest Maharishi of modern times. He has his interpretation and the light he has thrown on the Vedas is a very trusted source today of interpreting the Vedas. But so in addition to that, we know he was a freedom fighter. He was one of the first to ask for complete Swarajya from the British with his writings and in revolutionary work. He's also known as a great poet, but none of these really fully captures him completely. People who know him deeply and are his devotees and seekers see him and his spiritual collaborator, the mother, as supramental avatars. Just like Sri Krishna was sent to help Arjun stand up and fight against the Kauravas for righteousness and dharma. Sri Aurobindo was sent for India to show India's spirituality and for India to stand up against British oppression. So India, as you know, this crowd these are only seekers and some people who want to learn. So we don't realize, I think most Indians don't realize how great India is. India has the repository of the spiritual truth, which has survived, centuries of oppression from, the Islamic rule, from British, but it is an undying truth what India stands for. And Sri Aurobindo saw that, and he eventually saw that India will get free, but that the real mission of his life is to show mankind the next step in human evolution. He also saw India's role as the spiritual guru for the world. So, seers, rishis are seers, they see things. So he saw that spirit and matter are two poles of the same reality. And spirit is involved in matter, and it is evolving in the plant life, in animal life, in the human mind. But mind is not the last step. We are evolving to a higher level, and he saw that as a supramental, which is difficult to talk about, but he saw that the next step in human evolution is the spiritual evolution of mankind, and we can that so far Indian spirituality had talked about liberating the soul from the bondage of earth life and to realizing the spirit and realizing the divine beyond this existence. But it leaves the world unchanged. So how do we explain the meaning of the word? And he saw his mission was, and this knowledge was given to him directly by Sri Krishna while he was in Alipore jail for 1 year. He saw that he needs to reinterpret and throw light on certain unexplained truths in the Vedas and Upanishads. That there is a truth consciousness beyond, and that he called supramental. And if we connect to that, not only do we, in his yoga, not only do we realize the divine and our soul and the truth, but we bring down the divinity into our mind, our heart and vital, and the physical and matter itself. In Advaita Vedanta we see everything is one, but so far no one had talked about bringing down the divine, and that is the logical next step in spiritual or the evolution and that is taking place. So that's what he worked on all his life. After he went into seclusion in 1926, in a decisive moment when he talked about Sri Krishna himself descending into his body and collaborating in the transformation of nature. His major work, he's been a poet, so today we are going to be talking about Dr. Raina's book, which he has transcreated, I believe, all of the sonnets of Sri Aurobindo. So Sri Aurobindo was, I mean, he became, a Maharishi, but from early life, from I think in his teens, he was a poet. Because just like Dr. Raina, he was a master of several languages. At that time in Cambridge and in England, where his education was, he was supposed to learn Latin and Greek and languages. And then when he came to India, he learned all the Bengali, Marathi, and several other languages. But so he wrote poems from early on in life and continued to write poems throughout his life. But there is one poem which he wrote continuously from the days when he came to India in Baroda till the last days of his life. And that is his most important work, Savitri. Savitri is one of the longest poems in English literature. It is, I feel, underappreciated. Because it is not just a poem. It is epic written in mantric quality, what Sri Aurobindo calls supramental poetry. It comes from above. And for anyone who wants to follow his path of integral yoga, it becomes a guide. Reading Savitri becomes a guide. Some call it the fifth Ved, because it is truly a mantric in quality. Now the sonnets of Sri Aurobindo are about, how many you said, 87, 90, about, but most of them were written in the period of 1930 to 1950, after he went into seclusion, but there are some from earlier time too. So a sonnet is a 14-line poem with rhymes, and it usually has 8 lines to which begins with, gives the problem, and then 6 lines it concludes, and the last 2 are like the punchline. And we'll read 2 sonnets followed by Hindi translation or transcreation by Dr. Raina. I'll ask Preeti ji, my Mosi, to help me with the Hindi enunciation of the poem. I'll do the English. So, sonnet, these Sri Aurobindo sonnets, like was mentioned earlier, talk about themes like the divine presence, evolution, light, and different experiences of Sri Aurobindo he has given. And it is a painstaking effort. I don't know, it is kind of impossible to translate these into a different language. I don't know how Dr. Raina has done it, and he's done like all, what, 87? How many we have here? 87, yeah, 87 sonnets. I mean, these have very deep spiritual and philosophical meanings, and to bring that out in a different language is a near impossible task, but he's done it, so really. First one. So the first sonnet, I chose only a very difficult task to choose 2 sonnets, because they're all, show different aspects of spiritual realization and endeavors. So the first one I chose is Nirvana. This sonnet was published in 1934 in the Calcutta Review, but in it Sri Aurobindo has tried to share his first major spiritual experience. So Sri Aurobindo says he had a backdoor entry into spirituality. He was actually atheist, agnostic, and his early childhood was under Christian teachers, and he was exposed to Christianity. So he was like put away religion. He did not care much about religion. After coming to India, he read the Veda, Upanishads, and different scriptures. But his major experience, he took up yoga to get power to free India from British rule. He said, if these yogis can cure illnesses and do have all these powers, why not I? So he took up pranayama for many years, in 1904 early on. And then he got a lot busy with his work again, revolutionary work and everything. But then he asked his brother if he can get someone's guidance. So his brother Baran got a Maharashtrian yogi, Vishnu Bhaskar Lele was his name, to guide him. And he told him to sit down in a quiet room and throw any thoughts that come in the mind. And he did that for 3 days, and his mind was completely quiet, thoughtless, and from then on it remained thoughtless. This is how he describes his experience in the poem Nirvana. So I'll read the English, the original poem. All is abolished, but the mute alone. The mind from thought released, the heart from grief, grow inexistent now beyond belief. There is no I, no nature, known, unknown. The city, a shadow picture without tone, floats, quivers unreal, forms without relief flow, a cinema's vacant shapes, like a reef foundering in shoreless gulfs, the world is done. Only the illimitable permanent is here, a peace stupendous, featureless, still, replaces all. What once was I, in it is silent, unnamed emptiness content, either to fade in the unknowable or thrill with the luminous seas of the infinite. The Hindi translation.
This is in Hindi. It is very detailed Hindi. Thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for giving me a chance. निर्वाण, मौन शून्य केवल स्थिरता है, कुछ भी न रहा है शेष अधीन, चैत्य पुरुष हुआ चिंतन से दूर, हृदय संताप से विहीन, सत्य का आविर्भाव हुआ, विश्वास में दृढ़ता से तल्लीन, अहम शून्य प्रकृति भी उपशमन से हुई तब विलीन, नगर की छाया भी हुई रंग संगति से उन्मुख विहीन, तरल पदार्थ भी निस्पंदनशील, पर अमूर्तवत शरीर वहां भी चित्रपटवत शून्यकार, जैसे होता भिन्न हृदय अधीर, बस केवल अजर अमर अनंत की है शेष जो अभिज्ञात स्मृति, शांत गुणातीत विस्मयकारी, स्थिरता की उन्मुख अनुभूति, केवल रूपांतरण मेरा अस्तित्व है, उसी की है पहचान, शून्यता का था एक ही अभिज्ञान, जो है तात्कालिक परिधान, मैं ही था कभी समाया उसी में, वही मैं हूँ मेरी जो है वास्तविकता, अथवा अज्ञेय में हुआ होना आदि तत्व में विलीन, अनंत के भवार्णन की लहरों में होता है अभिज्ञान में तल्लीन, अनंत के भवार्णन की लहरों में होता है अभिज्ञान में तल्लीन।
Thank you. So just one more. I chose two of them. So the other one is called Krishna. And this one is important because it kind of summarizes his whole yoga, his his whole life, if I may say, because Sri Krishna was the one who gave him the light, and in 1926 Sri Krishna descended into him, and he is Sri Krishna himself from that point on. Krishna. At last I find a meaning of soul's birth into this universe terrible and sweet. I who have felt the hungry heart of earth aspiring beyond heavens to Krishna's feet. I have seen the beauty of immortal eyes and heard the passion of the lover's flute and known a deathless ecstasy's surprise and sorrow in my heart forever mute. Nearer and nearer now the music draws, life shudders with a strange felicity. All nature is a wide enamored pause, hoping her lord to touch, to clasp, to be. For this one moment lived the ages past, the world now throbs, fulfilled in me at last.
So like Dr. Mudit Jain said, this is the experience of Sri Aurobindo. He experienced Bhagwan Shri Krishna. वो अपने उनमें ही विलीन हो गए थे. So this is the experience when he, जब वो उनमें विलीन हुए, उनका क्या experience हुआ? He became Krishna himself. Krishna. पाया मैंने अंततः तात्पर्य आत्मा का, जीव रूप धारण करने से दृष्टा हो, मधुर भी कठोर भी, जगत में देह धारण करने से अनुभव हुआ शुद्धा से. त्रस्त भूमिस्थ हृदय की वो चित्कार, स्वर्ग लोक से भी आगे कृष्ण के चरणों में जाने की पुकार. अविनाशी नेत्रों में सौंदर्य की आभा देखी मैंने अभिप्सा से. अभिप्सा मीन्स डिजायर. अविनाशी नेत्रों से सौंदर्य की आभा देखी मैंने अभिप्सा से. प्रेमी की बांसुरी से सुन भी लिए मनोभाव सुर के अंदर. अमृत्य ध्यान को विस्मय भाव से जाना मैंने. बांसुरी के भीतर दुख से पीड़ा उपजी अभिषक के हृदय में अवाक होकर एक आ. निकट से निकटतर ऐसा गायन अपनी ओर खींचता है अक्षय सुर. ऐसे भव्य स्वागत के लिए भाव स्पंदन से जीवन